Perfect.
So welcome and thank you everybody for joining us for another episode of the Jain Irrigation Training Series. I'm Richard Rastusha, Vice President of Water Management Solutions. And today we're going to get deeper into the Jain Unity software for water management that we use on all our ET water controllers. And we're going to talk about soil moisture balance. And the reason why this is so important to me is having this ability to see what's actually happening in your soil below grade without having to use a shovel to check it out is really important. And being able to see it on my computer or smart device makes it even more usable because again, oftentimes I might think, man, it's starting to get hot, or we had that rain. Should I be watering? Should I not? Is everything going okay? Well, now I have one tab to go to and I can see exactly how much moisture is in my soil. It is so handy. It is so useful for making my landscape look beautiful. So taking us on this journey today is DJ Caldwell. And DJ has been a regional sales manager for ET Water since 2016. The thing I really appreciate about DJ is he's really technically proficient. He knows the software, he knows water management as well as anybody. But more importantly, he's not just worked at Jain and ET Water, but he's worked from a distributor for a distributor. So he's got that distributor perspective on the business, as well as he's worked for contractors too, as a water manager. So he really has this full 360 view of the industry and what we all face day to day, week to week, and year to year. So with that, I'm really excited, DJ, to hear what you have to say here about soil moisture balance. And thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be back again.
So DJ, I know it's snowing or snowed this week, and but it's been warmer, right? The season's kind of kicked off already. You've talked to a lot of contractors, I know, in the Colorado area. How's it going so far?
The season's looking really good for all the contractors. There's a lot of business out there. Everyone's really starting to get ramped up and going full bore. Really with all the business that potentially got put on hold during 2020, everyone is actually looking to have a busier year this year. So things are definitely starting to look up.
Boy, isn't that true? We heard early in the year, well, we'll see what happens in the summer. Do people want to go back to their offices? What will that commercial business be like? And I think what we're finding is lots of people want to go back. People are spending money still like crazy. I'm calling this the roaring 20s, and and it's happening all over again. So it's really great. So I'm really excited for this summer. So DJ, help us out here. I really want to know what soil moisture balance is.
So soil moisture balance is really going to be a graphical, well, the way we show it is going to be a graphical depiction of what the soil moisture content is in your soil. So basically how much available water your root system has that it can use at any given time in order to keep itself healthy and continue the growing process.
So one thing I think about when I think about moisture in soil is I think, well, I need a soil moisture sensor then. So is that true? Do you need a soil moisture sensor to do this?
So no, not with ET Water and Jain Unity. We do not use any type of soil sensor. With our algorithm that is using 17 factors of weather that we gather from multiple weather providers, we are actually able to calculate what is happening in your root zone with 9 factors of the landscape profile. So what your irrigation method is, the soil type, plant type. We're able to actually calculate all that very accurately, actually.
That's a lot of factors. How often can you possibly do a calculation?
So with the Jain Unity software, we're actually doing the calculation hourly. I think actually it's 26 times per day, but it still is being done hourly. So every time you log in, you might see something different.
Yeah, wow, that's great because as we know, a lot can happen in a 24-hour period. And certainly if I was looking at like historical ET, um, wow, that could be significantly off. So hourly, it's got to give you guys great opportunity to save water.
It definitely does. We're able to use live data. We're able to dial in and get a virtual weather station over the controllers. So we're actually able to use real live data instead of, like you said, historical. If you looked at historical weather data for Colorado right now, it would probably say we're a little bit drier and warmer than we've actually been, especially the last couple days. It isn't uncommon to see snow in May in Colorado, but it's not the normal either.
Yeah. So well, that's great. What are we looking at right here? What's this screen that we see?
Yeah, so this is going to be the initial screen when you log into your Jain Unity account. So we are looking at my house. So this is the actual irrigation controller that is watering my landscape. When you click on the controller name over on the left-hand side, this will pull up. So I know Danny Martinez has gone over what a lot of this information means, but this is going to be your overview that shows basically what the schedule is projected to be over the next 7 days. Oh,
I got a couple questions on this, and just a reminder to everybody who's watching today, I have both the chat and the Q&A open. So if you have some questions for DJ, drop them in the chat or Q&A, and I'll be sure to ask him. And then, so we're looking at now, DJ, along the left-hand column, we see Caldwell Resident Smart Controller, but then we also see BBCOA and the BQ demo and Locust Street and Hamilton Landing. These are all other locations in which you have controllers.
correct. Yes. So a lot of these are other sites where it's either like this one, the BQ demo. This is a demo controller that we're looking at right now. But these are other sites that have controllers installed that I myself have access to. So Richard, if you were a customer of ours and let's say you had 10 different sites with ET Water, those would all be listed here, and you would be able to use this menu to easily maneuver through the site and get to the controllers that you need to look at.
Yeah, so if I was a maintenance contractor and I had 10 jobs, 20 jobs, 100 jobs, I'd see them all right on that left-hand column, and I could just go through them or scroll to find the one I wanted, and remotely be able to look at what's happening on the controller. And more importantly, in this case, I could look specifically to a zone and see how the moisture was in a turf zone on one of my jobs.
Correct. Yeah. Yes. So from this front top page, we have all these tabs across the top. So today we'll be mainly focused on this moisture balance tab. So once we click into this, it's going to take just a second to download the most recent data for what's actually happening on the controller and in the ground.
Yikes,
So the first,
DJ, I just have to say it because I know there's a bunch of people thinking it right now. What in the world's going on with your station 11? It's all lit up red.
well, both station 10 and 11. So actually, if you look over here on the left-hand side, you can see that station 10 is going to be our beds for our annuals, and then 11's for our vegetable garden, neither of which we have planted. So I currently have blocked all irrigation. So we're not actually running anything out there right now.
Okay, so nothing's dying because nothing's planted.
Correct.
Yeah.
Normally, that would be a giant red flag.
Okay, all right, good. Well, like I said, I know there's a bunch of people wondering that right off the bat, so thank you.
So once you click into the moisture balance tab, the first two graphs or images that you see are very telling. So the first one here on the left-hand side is going to be the average of how much water is in your root zones across all of your zones. So right now you can see if you hover over, I've got 73% of water available in my root zones. And then, 26% has been depleted. Again, that is on an average. I have station 7, which is 99% full, but then station 11, which is 43% full. So that kind of gives you a really good snapshot of where you're looking or what your overall controller is looking like.
Couple of questions here, DJ. Could you please hover your cursor over one of the green bars on your stations? So what information do you get there?
Yeah, so each one of these, if you hover over each station, it's going to give you the zone specific information. So it's going to tell you exactly how much it's been depleted. So in this case, we're basically a quarter. We've depleted a quarter of our root zone. There's no rain. We're not having any watering events today. And then the available water for the plant material is going to be 75% of the water bucket. And then we're also showing the trigger depletion. So what that is saying is at 50%, we're willing to let half of our available water in our root zone fully deplete out before we're going to replenish it.
Very cool. And so with a quick view, a snapshot, a very easy snapshot, we can see what's there, right? What's happening on the property. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah. This is the, overview, really gives you the main information that you'd really be looking for. And then as we scroll down, we can actually dive deeper into what's happening at each individual zone.
Wow, let's see that.
So as you scroll down, over here, there's going to be a list of all of the zones that you have programmed. So you can highlight, choose, pick and choose which zones you want to look at. For this demonstration today, we're mainly going to be looking at zone 1, which I highlighted here. As we scroll down, it's going to be on the left-hand side of the screen. I can even take, another zone out. So this is all the data that we are looking at.
And so if I was a contractor and I wanted to look at all my turf zones, I could just click the turf zones. If I wanted to see the all my vegetable beds, right, because I'm growing food instead of turf this year, I could just focus on those.
Correct. Yeah, you can pick and choose. So if you're trying to look at like zones, all your pop-up zones, you can really see, how they're reacting to each other. If one has more slope than another, or potentially even a different soil type, across the property, you could really see how they're reacting to each other.
Yeah. Okay, great. So this is zone 1. And if you scroll down just a little, I'm sorry, the other way. I can see right away that zone 1 is cool season grass, and it's being watered with a spray head.
Correct. Yeah. So we're going to give you that general information right up top here. We can dive into the specific zone if we needed more specific information. But for right now, I mean, this is really kind of what this is based off of, the irrigation method as well as the plant material. So really, when you dive in to each zone, there's actually going to be 2 graphs associated with it. The top graph is going to be a lot of your environmental and how your system is running. So first, we have this orange line that goes up and down. This is going to be our actual daily ET value. So as you can see, here's today, and then here's the calculated ET of where it's going to be going out throughout the next week. Once we start looking at the little peach area here, you can see that that's going to be your average. So your average high and low ETs for this time of year. Yesterday, obviously, we had some rain. We were cooler. We were below the average low. But then tomorrow we're going to be slightly above the average higher end of that normal ET value.
Okay, so wait a second. I think if I understand what ET is, it is, right, evapotranspiration. I call it the opposite of rain, right? This is what's coming out of the ground and out of the plants, what they use daily. So I get how you would have ET for yesterday because you could measure it. And I know that's important for replenishment of my soil today, right? I want to replenish the water that's coming out of the soil and that my plant is used, but how the heck do you get it for tomorrow?
So that's where the predictive analytics that Jain Unity is using really comes into play. It also really relies on our weather providers and our virtual weather stations that we're creating for every single zone. So not only are we looking at the past 24 hours to see what has actually been depleted, or in this case, I had some rain here, what was added into the soil, but we're also able to look forward, and through, like, as I mentioned before, all 17 factors, we're able to really dial in and see what the patterns are going to be and what the weather is looking like, so we can dial in and get a much more accurate future ET value than we have previously, or most other people can currently.
So I would guess that'd be like your biggest water saving opportunity, because if it's been hot the past 3 days, but it's going to cool down tomorrow, or it's cooling down today, and I'm still watering based on the hot 3 days behind me, um, versus watering based on what the predictive ET is for today and tomorrow, I'm going to put down less water.
Absolutely, yeah. Especially if you're looking at, you go through a hot spell and then you're going to go into, monsoon rain season. With the ability of the controller to be able to adjust how frequently the system is running, and be able to, even to later today, let's say we got one of our famous rogue Colorado rainstorms later today that drops a half inch of rain. Once the system updates within that next hour, all of this information could look completely different, because there was something that, happened that nobody was able to predict.
Wow. So we do have a question coming in, DJ. And the question is this: when you have a 50% depletion area, or your trigger is set to 50%, is that when the irrigation kicks on?
That is going to be the trigger level that we are not going to allow the depletion to go past. As you will see shortly here, we are in certain cases, we're actually predictively running irrigation slightly before the trigger hits, in order to prevent the depletion from dropping below that trigger line.
I see. Okay. All right. Great. Thank you. So, DJ, help us out more on this top chart. What's that pink area through the middle? What is that about?
So this little pink or peach area here, that's going to be the average ET value that we were talking about. So average high, average low for this time of year. Actually going to be within this week, this time period that's showing here. It's really going to show you your average of where your ET normally is going to be. As I mentioned, we were low yesterday, and we're going to be a little bit higher tomorrow. But then the rest of the week, we're going to stay within that average that we are showing here.
Okay,
Also
and
on
so
this
I could guess it was be hotter, but it could be various other reasons why ET was going to be there high, right?
yeah, the temperature, wind speed, if we're having higher winds, but it's a little bit cooler, that's going to increase the depletion rates. Solar radiation, you can go down the list, all the different factors. But if one or two are higher than an average, then that could kick up your ET.
Very cool. I love knowing that all those things definitely contribute, and I love knowing that the software takes that into account.
Absolutely, it's one of the great things about it, is really how adaptive it is to the weather. Then on this top graph too, the other thing that we are showing is we're showing any event that is adding water into your root zone. So whether that is a rain event like we are seeing here yesterday, this light blue area, any irrigation events that are currently scheduled over the next week. As you can see, I have 3 here that are currently scheduled, as well as this shaded area, light blue shaded, that is going to be potential future rain events. Those are in the forecast. But we don't actually know if they're going to come to fruition yet, but we are showing that they are out there. And if they do actually show up, then we may again change our schedule going forward.
So DJ, sometimes we get a rain, especially here in Southern California, where people say, oh, it rained and it was kind of a mist and it doesn't really give you any available water. Does Jain Unity take this into account?
Yes, actually it does. So that actually takes us down to the next graph. So if we are looking at yesterday, Tuesday 5/11, we can see that there is a small area of light blue or rain impact that did take place. So if we hover up top here, we see that we did receive 1/4 inch of rain by hovering over that. If we come down to the bottom one and we start hovering over, the actual rain impact was going to be 0.102 inches instead of the 0.25 inches. And the reason that is because even though it was raining, we were still having ET. So that is the effect after the day's ET took place.
Wow, that's so cool. So you get the combination, you get this is what watered, and that would have been true if it was an irrigation event, but in this case, it was rain or irrigation minus the actual ET, and this is where you are, and that's what we see on this bottom graph.
Correct. Yes. So all the green is going to be what is available in your root system right now, and then the colored areas, so light blue or dark blue, are going to be the impact or effect of that event. And it's important to remember when you're looking at the bottom graph here, it is going to be at the end of the day. So 11:59 p.m. is what this snapshot is taken of. So you can see, throughout the entire day, what does that rain that I got, how is that going to affect my my soil moisture content for the end of the day.
And I just want to confirm that I understand this correctly. The reason the two graphs don't match is because one is how much water was applied that day, whether it was rain or irrigation or a combination. And the other is what's remaining at the end of the day after you draw the ET out.
Correct. And so we can actually look and we can show you that actual event of how it takes place. So both of these graphs, you can click on a certain day. So for this example, we'll look at Friday 5/14. So if I click on this bar, it brings me into the hourly, so we actually get to see the entire day. It does both top and bottom graphs. So you can see your irrigation events up here, as well as what your ET curve is looking like for that entire day. So we start the day at midnight. We can see we have hit the trigger. And so we are going to apply an irrigation event in the 2 o'clock hour. We're going to let it soak, and then we're going to apply again in the 4 o'clock hour. As you can see, between those two irrigation events, we completely fill the water bucket or available water to the plant to the very top, and then it will deplete as the day goes on.
So DJ, why did you choose 2 and 4 to put water down instead of 8 and 10?
So the system is going to basically make that decision for us, because we are looking for points of the lowest ET values that we are going to water. We don't want to be putting down water. Most municipalities, you can't water past, let's say, 10 a.m. But I don't want to be watering in the 9 o'clock hour when I have a much higher ET value, 0.01. Whereas when I put my second event down, I don't have any ET taking place in that hour.
Wow. So really, that's the time that you get the most value of your water for what you're paying for, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the system automatically calculates that and is going to do everything it can to apply it, when it's the absolute lowest.
Yeah. Because I think, right, your zone number 1, I think I read that you're watering with spray heads.
Correct.
And I'm guessing, right, you probably have a pretty efficient system, but maybe still 40, 45, 50% of that water doesn't land where you want it or evaporates. And if you were watering when ET was really high, you'd have even higher evaporations and less water use.
Correct. So, in turn, it all turns into I'm paying for water that I'm not actually getting to use.
Yeah.
It's going on the cars driving by or the neighbor's yard, wherever it ends up.
Yeah. What a waste, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, well, that's fabulous that it puts the water down when ET is the lowest. That's pretty amazing.
And then going back to the question, Richard, about, do we always water at the trigger level? So on Friday, we are going to water when it hits the trigger level. But if I click here on Sunday, I can actually see that I'm going to be watering prior to us hitting the trigger. And the reason this is we're trying to fill the root zone, but also I told my controller that it is not able to water past 8 a.m. So I come in here, and if I didn't put my water down prior to the end of my water window, my depletion would drop down well below my trigger level. And so we would actually be going into negative depletion, if you will, and potentially putting the plant at risk So we are looking at certain cases like this where we will put down a shorter run time, but we are still filling the root zone.
Man, DJ, I love this, but it sure seems like I'm going to have to do a lot of calculations to get this all figured out.
So it's actually pretty simple to enter in. I believe Danny talked about setting up a zone last time he was on, and it's the 9 factors that you put in. It's the root zone, the plant material, all 9 factors. You enter those in, and the system does the rest of it for you.
So,
Obviously, you still want to monitor it, and make sure that it's not kicking out a really weird schedule. For we mistakenly entered in it's a sandy soil instead of a clay soil, something like that. But you still want to monitor it, but the system does a lot of the calculations and everything for you.
so I don't have to be messing with it every day or every week or.
No, back when I was a contractor, I was managing a couple hundred of these controllers, and I would spend half hour to 45 minutes every day looking through all the controllers just for any weird anomalies that popped out. And other than that, I let the controllers run their program.
Wow, a couple hundred. How much time would that have taken you to drive to all those?
A week.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then, as you can see, we'll look at Saturday. So we'll click into Saturday. We get close to dropping to our trigger, but we actually don't see the need for an irrigation event because we haven't hit the actual trigger come midnight. But again, we'll click on Sunday and we will have an irrigation event shortly after midnight in the morning, again, to prevent it from happening. One of the questions I do get a lot from my contractors is, really, why is this beneficial? What good's it going to bring for me as a contractor? And the simple answer is it's going to help you show your customers, your HOA boards or commercial property, owners, why the system is reacting the way it is. So if you're July 20th, when we have, peak ETs and, the system's needing to run every single day, you can actually show, for lack of a better term, the yo-yo effect that's happening in your root system where it's depleting as quickly as you can put the water back in. So in order to keep your plant material healthy, you're having to water every single day. Or like a phone call I actually took earlier this week from an HOA board president. Hey, we haven't seen water at all yet, in the last 2 weeks. What's happening here? So, I got on and looked, and, up until that point, they had actually had enough rainfall to refill the root zone. So they didn't actually need to be supplemental irrigation to keep the root system healthy.
Yeah, so that's interesting too, because one thing I've learned, right, in taking complaint calls as a contractor is we'd put on a smart controller, we'd put on ET water, and we'd get the call, hey, it's watering every day, what's going on? But I think conventional controllers, a lot of times they set up all zones to water every day, but with this, you might not be watering every zone every day. It might be spacing it out. And then could you provide a report or something to show this?
Absolutely, you can. So, if you look here, so here's zones 1 and 2 on my controller. Zone 2 is going to water on Thursday, but zone 1 isn't going to water until Friday. If you look down at the graphs, you can see where the moisture balance is, and zone 1 is going to hit, or sorry, zone 2 is going to hit, early tomorrow morning. It's going to get down to where it actually needs to irrigate to refill the root zone. So, and you can also see that back from the main screen where we started. It's going to show you the future events, and you'll really get a good snapshot of what irrigation events are going to happen over the next 7 days.
Yeah, that's really great. I mean, I could see how that would be a lifesaver for a contractor and really put their customers' mind at ease when they saw that and know that their water was being managed properly.
Definitely, that's where I find this to be such a powerful tool, for a water manager to really, be able to understand what's happening with the water in the root zone without having to dig it up on a daily basis and really see how wet it is down there.
So Yeah, so I think there's a couple more things you want to show us, right, DJ?
Yeah, so just two more things really quickly. First is once you scroll down below your moisture balance graph, we're now giving you, kind of an Excel spreadsheet of when every single zone is actually going to turn on and water. Just beneficial for the contractor to understand, that we may not actually water in sequential order, or that it's going to run every day. As you can see, for tomorrow, the 13th, it looks like zones 2 and 3 are the only two zones that are scheduled to water. However, then you jump to Friday and it's going to be 1, 4, 5, and 6. So, you could really see the varying information there. The next thing I really wanted to show, that I think is very beneficial, is when you click on a specific station. So you're looking at the zone information right here. You can actually scroll down. You can see your 30-day history of what's happened and what's going to happen the next 7 days. But once you continue to scroll down, we actually give you that same moisture balance graph in a 30-day history. So you can really see what's happened the last month, with your water, or with the water in your root zone. So that way you can kind of see, especially if you take a phone call, hey, last month our water bill was really high. You can look at certain zones and kind of see the behavior of what was going on with them.
Yeah, what a great way to explain, yeah, that to, show proof, right? Everybody wants proof of the watering to your HOA groups or your property managers. So we have another question here, DJ, and it has to do with block days. If I have block days because, well, I'm going to mow, or my HOA is having a picnic day, is all this calculated into?
Absolutely. So anytime you add a block day or any type of a restriction, all of that is going to be calculated into the moisture balance tab. So if we were unable to water, let's say on this Friday, because that is the mow day, it's going to be calculated. So the system might preemptively irrigate on Thursday morning prior in order to prevent the depletion from dropping too far, or it may end up running longer on Saturday to catch up for not being able to water that specific Friday because of the mow day. You're really going to see a lot of that when it comes into, we're still in a drought here in Colorado. We've had a very wet spring, but it's not enough to probably pull us out of the drought. So we're going to see water restrictions this year. So you may be only able to water every 3 times a week, where you're going to be able to see the effects of that directly in your moisture balance, and then you'll be able to see the differences in the run times.
DJ, watering, water, soil moisture, for a lot of people, it's still a mystery, right? And this soil moisture balance tab really helps take that mystery out. This was great today. I really appreciate all this great information. If somebody has some questions or wants some additional information, how do they get a hold of you?
Definitely. People can feel free to contact me via email or phone number. My email address is my first initial and last name, so dcaldwell@etwater.com. Or they can feel free to reach out to me on my cell phone, which is 970-815-6070. And I apologize, I did not have that typed up and ready to pop on screen.
That's all right, DJ. I think you're pretty easy to find these days. So that's great. We have time for one last question. And this is coming from one of our viewers, and they're asking, we're only able to water 3 days per week. Can the program be adjusted for that?
Absolutely. So there's a couple different ways you can do it. If we scroll up top, we have our block days. So you can actually go in and you can set and block the certain days. So you can tell the controller the only 3 days that you can water. Or if it's, varying, you can go in and make these changes as you go. The other is going into this schedule configuration with interval. So interval is going to be your frequency. So you can, play with this percentages and try to get it to where it meets your needs. But please know that the interval does change with the ET. As the ET increases, your interval, even if right now you're at 3 days a week, it may still go to 4 days a week because of the need of water. So block days really is going to be your best bet to do that for long term, for over the entire irrigation season.
So probably the easiest way to do it would be just to block the days that you can't water, leave the 3 that you can, and let the program figure it out for you.
Absolutely, because the program's going to look at it, and as we showed in the moisture depletion, you're really going to be able to the program's going to be able to determine when and how much to water. So if it does need to water all 3 days of the week, it certainly can. Otherwise, it may still skip a day if we have very low ET and it's wet or something along those lines.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, depending on what's happening, it may not use all 3 days. It might do it once or twice.
Correct, and that's the importance of having the predictive analytics to be able to look forward, by knowing that by skipping that watering event on that day, that we're not going to get ourselves in trouble by the next watering event.
Yeah. DJ, great job today. Thank you so much. I have a much better handle on the moisture balance, and I know everybody else does as well. I want to thank everybody for joining us this afternoon for this training. Remember that you can watch all our trainings on the jainsusa.com website /trainings. And we're also on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio too. So job to job, driving around, you can listen to us, or on your walk or run every day. So anyway, thank you everybody for checking in, and want to remind everybody we've got Dr. Dukes on Friday. He's going to be talking about how to get your customers excited about smart controllers. He spent a lot of time determining that smart controllers save customers water and money. And he's going to be talking about how to get them more excited about, or how to get more customers excited about this, be a technology that's really working to do what it says it's going to do. So anyway, hopefully we'll see you on Friday. Again, DJ, thank you. And thanks to everybody.
Thanks, Richard.